They gave my younger sister $230,000 and labeled me a failure. They regretted it when I stopped calling. I'm Samantha, and I just turned 31 last spring. 3 years ago, I watched my parents hand my younger sister Brooklyn a check for $180,000 as a wedding gift, a down payment on her first house in Westchester. That same evening, over dessert I'd helped prepare, my mother sighed and said to my father, "Well, at least Brooklyn settled into something stable." The words weren't meant for me to hear, but they landed anyway, confirmation of what I'd felt for years. My choices didn't measure up. I didn't storm out that night. I didn't delete their contacts or cut them off completely. But something shifted inside me, a quiet decision that I would stop trying to translate my life into terms they could approve of. If you're watching from somewhere that values choosing your own path over following someone else's map, stick around. What happened next surprised all of us, including me. Growing up in Ridgewood, New Jersey, our family looked like a Norman Rockwell painting from the outside. My father, Thomas Reed, built a successful career in commercial real estate. My mother, Patricia, managed our home with the precision of a Fortune 500 CEO, hosting dinner parties that became neighborhood legends. Brooklyn, 5 years younger than me, seemed to absorb their values effortlessly. The right schools, the right friends, the right trajectory. I loved them all. That's what made it complicated. From childhood, I was drawn to things that grew. While Brooklyn practiced piano for her recitals, I was in the backyard studying how tomatoes climbed their stakes, why some plants thrived in shade while others needed full sun. My parents tolerated this interest the way you tolerate a child's imaginary friend, something they'd outgrow. Samantha's in her nature phase, my mother would explain to relatives, the same tone she used when Brooklyn went through her brief obsession with astronomy. Except I never outgrew it. My grandmother Ruth was different. She'd grown up on a small farm upstate before marrying my grandfather and moving to the suburbs. She understood that some people are called to work with the earth, not just admire it from a distance. "Your mother worries about security," she told me once, helping me transplant seedlings in her garden. She's not wrong to worry. But she's wrong if she thinks there's only one kind of security. When I won a regional science fair in 10th grade with a project on companion planting techniques, the local paper ran a small feature. My parents attended the ceremony, smiled for photos, but seemed uncomfortable when other parents congratulated them. "It's a nice hobby," my father said on the drive home. "But you'll want to think about practical applications for college. Maybe environmental law? That's a growing field." I didn't argue. Not then. Brooklyn and I both went to good schools, her to Boston College for Business, me to Cornell for environmental science with a focus on sustainable agriculture. The difference in our experiences was subtle but constant. Brooklyn's graduation was celebrated with a party at our house, catered, with relatives flying in from 3 states. Mine was acknowledged with a nice dinner at a restaurant, just the 4 of us, where conversation kept drifting to Brooklyn's upcoming internship at a marketing firm. After graduation, I took a position with Hudson Valley Harvest, a non-profit developing community agriculture programs in underserved areas. The salary was $34,000. Brooklyn's starting salary at her marketing firm was nearly triple that. "Are you sure about this?" my mother asked when I told her about the job. "It's just, you worked so hard in school, sweetheart." "I'm working in exactly the field I studied for, Mom." "I know, but..." She trailed off, and I could fill in the blanks. "But it doesn't pay well. But it's not prestigious. But we don't know how to explain it to our friends." I moved into a small apartment in Beacon, New York, with 2 roommates. The commute was long, the neighborhood was transitioning, but the work mattered. We were teaching people to grow their own food, creating green spaces in concrete neighborhoods, proving that fresh produce didn't have to be a luxury. For 3 years, I poured everything into that work. We established gardens in 6 communities. I developed a vertical growing system that maximized space in urban environments, an evolution of my high school science project. A sustainable agriculture journal even featured it. I sent the article to my parents. My mother texted back, "That's wonderful, honey. Brooklyn got promoted to senior account executive." Brooklyn's engagement to Connor, a consultant from a family my parents had known for years, was treated like a royal wedding. The engagement party alone cost more than I earned in 6 months. I was genuinely happy for her. Brooklyn and I had stayed close despite our different paths. She didn't understand why I'd chosen such a hard road, as she put it, but she never made me feel judged. The actual wedding gift, though, That $180,000 check presented at the rehearsal dinner, that hit differently. Not because I wanted the money. I'd never expected equal financial support. Our life choices had different costs. But the timing, the public presentation, the way it crystallized years of subtle messages about whose choices were valued, it accumulated into something heavy. That night, after the wedding, Brooklyn found me on the hotel balcony. "Sam, I know what you're thinking," she said quietly. "I'm happy for you, Brooke. I really am. I know. But I also know Mom and Dad have been." She searched for words. "They don't see what you're building. And I hate that for you." "They see it," I said. "They just don't value it the same way." I didn't cut my parents off. Instead, I made a different choice. I stopped explaining myself. Stopped hoping they'd suddenly understand. Stopped measuring my worth by their approval. I called less frequently. When they asked about my work, I gave brief answers and changed the subject. When my mother suggested, again, that I consider getting an MBA, I said, "That's not my path, Mom," and moved on. The space I created wasn't angry. It was protective. Necessary. With that energy freed up, I threw myself into a new project. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, my former Cornell advisor, connected me with some agricultural technology investors. "Your vertical system has commercial potential," she said. "You should think bigger." I spent 6 months developing a business plan for green space systems, creating modular growing systems for restaurants, schools, and residential buildings. The initial investment was $60,000 for 25% equity. Barely enough to rent a workshop and hire one part-time engineer. The first year was brutal. I paid myself nothing, worked 100-hour weeks, and ate more ramen than any 30-year-old should. There were nights I wondered if my parents had been right, if I was being stubbornly idealistic instead of practical. But slowly, it started working. A farm-to-table restaurant installed our first system. Then a charter school. Then a boutique grocery. Each installation led to 2 more inquiries. The technology spoke for itself: 70% reduction in water usage, year-round production, no pesticides, minimal space requirements. 18 months in, we had 12 installations and 6 employees. 2 years in, we were profitable. I didn't tell my parents. Not because I was waiting to prove them wrong, but because I'd learned to build my life without needing their validation as the foundation. Brooklyn told them, of course. She'd visited my new workshop, seen the installations, met my team. "You need to see what Sam's built," she told our parents. "Really see it." They came on a Tuesday afternoon. I gave them a tour of our facility, showed them the systems in development, explained the technology and our client list. My father asked surprisingly informed questions about scalability and patents. My mother seemed genuinely impressed by the elegance of the design. "This is remarkable, Samantha," my father said finally. "I had no idea it was at this scale." "Well," I said carefully, "you never really asked." The words weren't bitter, just honest. And I think that honesty, delivered calmly, without anger, landed in a way years of hurt feelings never had. My mother's eyes filled. "You're right. We didn't ask. We decided what we thought you were doing, and we were wrong. We didn't fix everything that day. You don't erase years of misunderstanding with one conversation. But we started something new." My parents suggested making a financial gift to even things out with what they'd given Brooklyn. I thought about it and proposed something different, funding a scholarship for students pursuing sustainable agriculture, especially those whose families didn't understand or support their path. We named it after Grandma Ruth, who'd passed away 2 years earlier. Working together on that project opened conversations we'd never had before. My father admitted he'd measured success by the metrics he understood: profit, prestige, financial security, and hadn't developed the vocabulary to value other kinds of achievement. My mother confessed she'd worried constantly about my financial stability, and that worry had blinded her to the impact of my work. Brooklyn, surprisingly, started questioning her own path. "Watching you build something you truly believe in," she told me over coffee one Saturday, "it's made me realize I never really asked myself what I wanted. I just did what seemed expected." Today, Green Space Systems has installations in 8 states. We employ 23 people. I still live simply, a modest house in the Hudson Valley with a large garden, but I'm financially stable and, more importantly, deeply fulfilled. My relationship with my parents has evolved into something more honest. They still don't fully understand my choices, but they've learned to respect them. We have dinner monthly. They ask better questions. They listen differently. Last month, they attended our annual client showcase. Watching my father explain our water reclamation system to another attendee, with genuine enthusiasm and surprising technical accuracy, I felt something shift. Not vindication. Not "I told you so." Just peace. The greatest gift wasn't proving them wrong. It was learning that their approval, while nice to have, was never the foundation I needed. I'd built that foundation myself, in soil and innovation, in purpose and persistence, in the quiet certainty that some kinds of success can't be measured by others' metrics. "I'm proud of you," my father said as they left that night. "Not just because the business is successful. Because you knew what mattered to you and you didn't let go of it, even when we made that harder than it should have been." "Thanks, Dad," I said. "That means a lot." And it did. But what meant more was knowing I would have been okay even if he'd never said it. Some paths require walking alone for a while. Not forever, necessarily. But long enough to learn that you can trust your own sense of direction, even when the people who raised you can't read your map. I don't regret the difficult years. They taught me something essential. The only approval that truly matters is your own. Everything else, reconciliation, recognition, respect, those can only be built on that foundation. And that foundation? It's unshakable. The hardest part of choosing your own path isn't the work itself. It's maintaining faith in your choices when the people you love can't see their value. But that faith, once earned, becomes something no one else can give you or take away.